السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يقول الله تعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. Indeed, all thanks is to Allah Azza wa Jal. We seek refuge in Him and we seek His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of our own selves and the evil of our actions. For indeed, whomsoever Allah Azza wa Jal has guided to Al-Islam, no one can misguide, and whomsoever Allah misguides, no one can guide. And I stand before all of you and I bear witness and I testify openly and freely that there is no deity, there is no Lord, there is no Ilah except Allah Azza wa Jal. There is none worthy of worship except Allah, and that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last and final messenger and the seal of all prophethood. O you who believe, be God conscious of Allah as is His due, and do not die unless you are in the state of Islam. Be God conscious of a Lord who created you from one soul, and from that soul many men and many women, and fear Allah in whose names you appeal to one another, and honor family ties. Indeed, Allah is ever over you and I, an observer, a watcher. And before I begin my khutbah, if you have space and you have the capability to move forward, please move forward. And this is a reminder to myself and to all my brothers and sisters that using your phone during the khutbah is prohibited and you will lose the reward. Barakallahu feekum. Today, inshallah, we'll be talking about a specific concept, a specific rule that we see throughout humanity. From the beginning of time of Adam, from the beginning of the creation of time, this system, this concept that has not been proven by science and may never ever even be proven by science. Rather, it is something that has been testified, something that has been witnessed by Muslims alike. And this concept and this reality is something that's only witnessed by the Muslim in his regard, no matter what he's going through in life. And it is something that you and I can witness today, has been witnessed before, and it can be witnessed now. That whatever you're going through in life, whatever sin you're involved in, whatever sin you don't want to let go, because many of us, some of us or many of us, have been involved in certain type of sin, whatever that may be, for years. That sister doesn't want to stop backbiting. That brother is involved in a haram business. That brother is involved, or that sister is involved in a haram relationship. That brother or that sister doesn't want to let go of watching explicit content online. That brother or that sister doesn't want to stop wearing shorts that fall above the knee. Or that sister doesn't want to wear the hijab. Whatever sin it may be, it is the system of Allah. It is this concept of Allah, this promise of Allah, that no one will ever leave a sin for the sake of Allah the Almighty, except that Allah Azza wa Jal will replace him with what's better for him. Will replace him with that which is better. And we get this from the beautiful hadith narrated by Abu Qatada radiallahu anhu, in which he narrates that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, لن تضع شيئا لله عز وجل إلا بدلك الله ما هو خير لك منه أو كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, that you will never leave a sin, leave something for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, except that Allah Azza wa Jal will replace you with that which is better for you. This is a promise of Allah. And wallahi, this promise is true, and wallahi, anyone can witness it in their life. So you decide to leave off that haram business, and Allah Azza wa Jal replaces you with a halal business and a more profitable one. You decide to leave off that haram relationship, and Allah Azza wa Jal replaces you with a halal one. You decide to leave off wearing the haram, and Allah Azza wa Jal replaces you with modest, elegant clothing. Anything that you can think of, you leave it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal alone, and Allah Azza wa Jal will replace you with that which is better. But brother, I rely on this haram income. But brother, I rely on this haram addiction. But brother, he promised me that when he's ready, he'll come and approach my father. But brother, it makes me feel comfortable and it's easier for me in the workforce if I don't wear hijab. The hadith is very clear that no one will leave a sin for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal except that Allah will replace him with that which is better. I get from time to time people who will come to me to tell me about the problems. Brother, I'm stuck in such and such sin, or it's hard for me to get out of this sin, or I don't know what I should do. And coming to me as if intentionally or unintentionally seeking a fatwa that makes the haram halal or makes their life easier, intentionally or unintentionally. And the answer is that I don't have a fatwa to give because the halal and the haram is clear. The halal and the haram is clear. And the reality is that making your life easier is in your ability to leave that which is haram for that which is halal. And Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he tells us very beautifully about this concept of leaving that which is haram, leaving off a sin. He says, as for one who abandons a sin sincerely from his heart, he will find no difficulty in abandoning it except in the initial instant, so as to test his truthfulness in abandoning it or whether he is untruthful. So if he is patient upon that difficulty for a short period, then it transforms into a beautiful delight. That Allah Azza wa Jalla will test you in the beginning, initial instant, to test you to see, are you sincere in abandoning that sin? And it's not going to be easy at first. But if you are steadfast, then Allah Azza wa Jalla will facilitate it for you. Let us take the look or the example of Sulaiman alayhi salam, in which he had an immense love for horses. They were strong, they were fast, they allowed anyone to travel a long distance in a short amount of time as a commodity, treated as a commodity. You had a lot of horses, you were rich. And even though today or nowadays we have cars, you will still find that the cars are measured in horsepower. And you will still find today that many gather to go to famous car meets to spend hours admiring other people's cars. So too did Sulaiman alayhi salam when he is admiring these horses that Allah Azza wa Jalla had blessed him with until Salatul Asr had passed him. He missed Salatul Asr, remorsefully saying, إني أحببت حب الخير عن ذكر ربي حتى توارت بالحجاب. That indeed I have given preference over the good things until the sun had disappeared into the curtain of darkness. ردوها علي. He's ordering the horses to be brought back to be sacrificed. And other mufassirun have said that he donated the horse meat in charity because he regretted so deeply missing one salah. One salah. Whereas many today or some today will miss many salahs or will delay all of their salahs till the end of the day. No, rather Sulaiman alayhi salam, he forgot. And if you forget in Islam, you have not sinned. But he regretted so much that he missed one salah that he turns to Allah and he says, قَالَ رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي. Oh my Lord, forgive me. And what does Allah Azza wa Jal replace him with? What does Allah Azza wa Jal compensate Sulaiman alayhi salam with? Is that he gives him the wind to command. He tells the wind to go in one direction, it goes in that direction. He tells the wind to pick him up and carry him. It does that exactly what he has commanded. That he's able to go from riding to flying. That he's able to travel a month's journey, what would be a month's journey in a single night, surpassing any horse imaginable. Wallahi, my dear brothers and sisters, you will never, ever leave anything for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, except that Allah Azza wa Jal will replace you with that which is better. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I'd like to go over one more example. Let us take the example of the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, in which he is entrusted with the governor's wife, Imratul Aziz. And Yusuf alayhi salam at the time was living a very lavish life, living under the roof of the governor of Egypt. He wore their clothes, he ate from what they ate, was raised as one of their own, until Allah Azza wa Jalla had tested him with zina and false accusations. Yet Yusuf alayhi salam, staying stead firm by the will of Allah Azza wa Jalla, he calls out to Allah and he says, رَبِّ السِّجْنُ أَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا يَدْعُونَنِي إِلَيْهِ. Oh my Lord, prison is more preferred to me than that which they invite me to. And that is not to say that Yusuf alayhi salam desired prison, but rather that he had favored the trial of prison over the hardship of falling into zina. That he'd rather live a lower life in that which is halal than to live a lavish life in that which is haram. SubhanAllah, how many of us need this lesson in our lives today? That he'd rather live a lower life in that which is halal than live the lavish life under the roof of a governor in that which is haram. And you offer any Muslim today who is steadfast $1 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion, and you tell that Muslim that this $1 trillion came from that which is haram, the steadfast Muslim has no desire for it. Has no desire for it. So too did Yusuf alayhi salam. When he was tested and he had no desire for the lavish life. If it was including haram, he had no desire for it. And how did Allah compensate him in return? What did Allah give him in return? He gave him authority over the lands of Egypt and gave him a wife, a righteous wife, instead of what would have been a haram relationship. Allah blessed him with that which is halal. Even though there was no human to see him or to watch him, he symbolized the true meaning of taqwa, where Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. That he who is mindful of Allah, he who is God-fearing of Allah, he who has taqwa, Allah will make a way out for him and provide for him in ways that he does not expect. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says in the same surah, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِ يُسْرًا. That he who is God-fearing of Allah, he who is mindful of Allah, he who has taqwa, Allah will make all of his affairs easy. And Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the same verse, in the same surah, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يُكَفِّرْ عَنْهُ سَيِّئَاتِهِ وَيُعْظِمْ لَهُ أَجْرًا. That he who is mindful of Allah, he who is God-fearing of Allah, he who has taqwa, Allah Azza wa Jalla will remove his sins and reward him immensely. And no one is able or has the capability of leaving that which is haram without the aid of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And that is why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching us a beautiful dua. When he says, Allahumma kfini bihalalika an haramik, wa aghnini bifadlika amman siwak. O Allah, suffice me with that which is lawful over that which is unlawful, and enrich me with your grace over anyone other than you. And so to conclude, never has anyone left anything for the sake of the Almighty except that which he has been guided rightly. Leave off the sin that drags you down. Save yourself from being drowned. Take the example of Sulaiman, the greatest of kings, and how Allah enabled him to fly like a bird with wings. Take the example of Yusuf, who chose prison over his desire, and how Allah blessed him with his own empire. I promise, a promise from Allah, try it for yourself. And watch how Allah increases you in wealth. Take it from the Quran. Don't just believe me. Watch how Allah makes your affairs easy. Something better will come your way. Leave it for Allah and you will be repaid. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive us and have mercy on us. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to enable us to leave the haram for the halal. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to aid our brothers and sisters who are suffering in Palestine, in China, in France, and who are suffering all around the world. اللهم إنا نسألك مغفرة تمحو بها ذنوبنا وتستر بها عيوبنا وتتقبل بها حسناتنا وتتجاوز عن سيئاتنا وتكفر بها خطايانا وترفع بها درجاتنا وتستر بها عيوبنا وعوراتنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نستغفرك إنك كنت غفارا. اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما أعلنا وما أنت أعلم به منا. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم واستغفروه يغفر لكم واتقوه يجعل لكم من أمركم مخرجا وأقيموا الصلاة.